What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to have a DPS tier list. We are going to be ranking every 5-star and 4-star DPS character in the game in a free-to-play scope in hopes of helping you prepare for the future in which characters you want to invest or which characters you want to save and pull for. So regardless if you are a whale or a light spender, you should start stocking up on Jade because 2.5 is looking kind of crazy. And to help you do that, you should check our friends over at lootbar.gg. This is a completely safe, fast, and reliable way of getting your premium currency for your favorite Hoyo games like Genshin Impact, HONKAI Star Rail, and Zone Zero at a discounted price. As you can see, you can save 15% on Genshin, 14% on Star Rail, and 10% on Zone Zero. And once you click your game, you're going to select the amount of currency you want to purchase, enter your UID and your server, make sure this information is 100% correct, and you're going to click top up now, submit your payment information, and within minutes, you're going to get your seller Jades right in your game. It is really that simple, fast, and easy. So make sure if you are going to summon, check our friends over at lootbar.gg. Link in the description below. For this DPS tier list, we have a few stipulations for 5-star characters. The only rule for them is that they are E0 and that they don't have access to their signature Lycon. So pretty much E0 as 0. Any other 4-star Lycon or the Herta shop 5-star Lycons are accessible. And then for the 4-star, the only stipulation is that they also don't have any access to signature Lycons of premium characters and that they are at E6. The problem making this tier list is that there are just too many DPS characters to build, and obviously I won't be able to build all of them. So I don't have experience with all these DPS characters, but luckily I reached out to my friend Wyatt, which is another content creator, severely underrated. You should go check him out. He makes fantastic content. He teaches you how to properly use certain characters. He specializes in 4-star MOC clears. Please check him out in the link in the description below. He will be with us doing this tier list. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Let's get this party started. Starting up with Destruction MC, D tier character. Nobody uses him. Trash, garbage. All right, Yanquing. What do you say about Yanquing?
Yanquing is an easy D. Needs too much shielding to be reliant for the soul sink, and a lot of his damage is reliant on follow-ups.
Okay. Himeko. Himeko has gotten a buff with Super Break. Now she got the pieces she needed to actually excel in MOC and in Apocalyptic Shadow. And she was already good in Pure Fiction, so I think A tier is a very, very good placement for Himeko. What do you think?
I would agree, mainly just because in Pure Fiction, she's probably easily like the top of SSS. Apocalyptic Shadow, she's relatively good now, I want to say, but that might just be because this is the first stage. But Super Break definitely did bring her playstyle to the next level if you want to go that route. And yeah, she's super flexible. She's good.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. All right, next up we got Clara. I think personally Clara goes in the B tier. She is a very comfy character. Her DPS output is very low, but she's very comfy. So
yeah, a lot of her damage is reliant on obviously enemies hitting you. Even when you use the ult, like it can hit another, and it can hit one of your teammates, and you can still get the damage. But outside of the ult, you kind of want her to get hit, and running that without a sustain is always rough. So you do want the sustain, so her damages fall off quite a bit. But her energy cost is low, which is really nice. Pair that with Ting Yun. Interestingly enough, sometimes she actually has too many stacks of follow-ups, which is why Yun Li is going to be such a power upgrade, specifically over her. Just the fact that you're not going to be running out of any of those enhanced follow-up counters.
Yeah, if you have Clara, and you enjoy Clara, you're probably going to enjoy Yun Li a lot. Next up, Dr. Ratio. I think Dr. Ratio deserves to go in the A tier. He's very, very strong. He does need a little bit of investment because missing those crits, it's like horrible. It feels really, really bad. And his reliance on debuffs is actually not a positive thing. It's, you know, it's a very negative thing.
Yeah, pretty much. It's kind of like the same like the Seele situation with lots of hunt characters in general. If their attacks only do like one instance of damage, and if you miss your crit, and that's pretty much you just lost, you know, all that extra damage. It's really, really rough. And just like you said about the debuffs, I mean, the only way you're getting these debuffs, if you're using like the follow-up team with Robin, Topaz, and Aventurine, for example, is with signature light cones or Eidolons. So whether it's like the Sig for Aventurine or Topaz, or the E1 on Topaz, it's hard to actually increase the consistency of his attacks without, you know, spending.
Yep. Another one is Silver Wolf, but not a lot of people actually pull for Silver Wolf. So, I mean, I don't expect a lot of you to have that to make it work. QQ, the original gacha gambling addict. I think her damage ceiling is really, really high, but she struggles with the whole gambling addiction. So you can do no damage or you can do a lot of damage.
Well, as a dedicated gacha gambler myself, I must say that QQ is on a different plane of power sometimes, and then other times she's like under the trash can. Like she's so fucking bad, it's crazy. But just because she's so good sometimes, I would say that I think B is probably fair.
Yeah.
For an average floor.
I agree. Next up, Luka. I'm going to let Wyatt take this one because he has a lot of experience with Luka.
Luka is, I think, an easy A. For a 4-star, he's crazy. You do need his E6, but since this tier list is including E6s, then he deserves it. Physical break is so strong in and of itself because you don't need to worry about trace levels. You don't need to worry about crit. It's literally just break effect, his level, and then if you want to increase it, with Ron May with some Respen or Def Shred from Pela, and you're just going to hit these massive bleed numbers, and the initial uppercut will be like 500k, but then when the enemy's turn comes up, they're taking like 120 bleed proc too. And these numbers are, irrespective of extra buffs, damage buffs, all these things. So very, very, very good element when paired with a break. Luka is garbage in my opinion, just because you don't want to have him be scaled off his attack.
And then that's something that a lot of people forget about break physical characters is that bleed dot. That bleed dot slaps for 100k and just finishes. You don't even have to spend attacks finishing them off because they just die when they take their turn.
And also bleed proc is based off of the max HP and the max toughness of the enemies. So if you have a super high toughness, like an Aventurine boss, for example, you whittle down that toughness and then you're going to get the rewards of whittling down all that toughness at the end of it.
Yeah. All right, we have Jingliu, and this is going to be the first hot take. Well, actually, yeah, this is going to be the first hot take of the video. I think she goes pretty much on the bottom of A. She has fallen off of grace very fast in a very steady pace. Yeah, she's just at E0 as 0 Jingliu, which is not it. She's just not it.
I think a lot of people back in the day, the 50% crit rate makes her an easy character to start playing with. However, once you get to the point where you don't actually need that 50% crit rate, where you're okay going with an 80-180 crit ratio or an 80-160 crit ratio, then going for a 50-240 isn't as impactful, especially if you want to use a Sparkle on the team or something like that. But I think one of the main things is the fact that her 180 attack increase at level 10 with her talent, right? Yeah. Seemed so unbelievably good when it started because we didn't have those level of buffs. We didn't have Ron May, we didn't have Robin, we didn't have Sparkle. Now that we have these limited 5-star buffers, it almost decreases the value of her self buffs, and now she just doesn't hold the candle to some of the newer characters. And another thing that really, really sucks is her uptime. I mean, just her uptime is rough. Yeah, you have to skill twice after, and you can only get 3 enhanced skills. It's a lot of wasted turns. Pretty much makes her completely suck in pure fiction, and is a little bit of a rough situation.
And on top of all that, she kills your own team. So
and she saps your own health. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So this is a very special one for both of us. Xueyi is one of my favorite characters, and if you know Wyatt, for those of you who actually know him from my channel, he's the Xueyi king. So
I love Xueyi so much. She's such a cool character. Her animations are top tier. Definitely one of the best. Not even 4 stars. Probably one of the best animations, even with some of the 5 stars. However, Super Break may have came out. Some people may like Super Break. She still really wants to be billed with crit. If you want to play her off element, which is where things kind of go off, things go wrong, because her stack generation is really, really tied to how much toughness she deals herself, because it doesn't matter how much toughness everybody else deals, as long as they just have the element. And Ron May is mandatory if you want to play her off element, but that works only because she has 120 toughness cost ult, right? So if you pair that with the extra 50% weakness break efficiency, you're hitting that 180 and you're pretty much breaking the majority of everything. And that's also obviously, weakness, irrelevant of weakness, because she has that Silver Wolf technology, hidden inside her genetics. But for the most part, she's not as strong, definitely, I want to say, because she also needs lots of investment in break effect and crit. So
yeah, you definitely have to invest a lot in her.
Yeah, as much as I like her, I think B is fair for her.
All right, now my favorite character in the game, it's Mbappe Lune. I personally think E0 as 0 when he came out, because of him, I was able to clear Swarm 5. So for me, he's an easy double S. Even at E0 as 0, you pair him up with JingYuan, Hua if you have him, Sparkle. You can pretty much run him however you want, essentially, as long as you don't have Bronya, and even then you can still run him with Bronya if you know how to manage your skill points correctly. He just puts out so much damage. It's unparalleled.
Yeah, and also his toughness damage is crazy.
That too.
the skill points, there's always like that comparison versus like this is the amount of damage Jingliu does versus Imbibitor, but then this is the amount of skill points they use. But the thing is that the teams that Imbibitor wants, you don't really run into these skill point problems as much. You know, the ult gives you 2 free. If you use Tingyun, you're getting that ult more consistently. But yeah, no, he deserves the double S spot, definitely. He's so good. My first E2.
Yeah, mine too. And then with Sparkle, it just erases all of his skill point issues completely, pretty much. Hook, like I said, we're not going to spend too much time on like bad characters. I think we're going to just throw in D. Same thing with Arlan. We don't spend a lot of time.
Yeah, Yanquing is probably better. I'd probably put Yanquing at the top of D, but everybody else can.
Actually, I'm going to move him up to C. Let's move him there. I think you can bottom C, just so, people who pull Yanquing don't feel too bad.
Also, really quick about Arlan. Arlan has like some potential because, he can do some really, really good numbers when he's at low HP. The problem is keeping him alive at low HP is so hard that it's like, it's even worse than QQ sometimes.
Yeah, I didn't even waste my time with Arlan. Like, I read his kit and I was like, nah, it ain't worth it. DPS Welt. Remember, guys, his DPS tier list. So DPS Welt, I don't know. He's not a DPS character per se at E0, S0. He starts getting better at E1, but at E0, S0, he's still better than these guys at D, but to me, he's a C character when it comes to DPS.
Yeah, well, considering my highest Eidolon standard character is an E2 Bailu, yet somehow I have E6 Welt. I've played with Welt at every single level of investment, and definitely his E1 and even his E2 is just insane for his damage. Not to mention his supporting capabilities. But at E0, the only maybe thing that he would have over some other DPSs is also similar to Misha, how you can play them as the sustain and just buff them as well, so you don't have to run the sustain, which then leads to like higher numbers. So if you want to go for like a 0 cycle Welt, E0 Welt, it's doable, and it's actually a lot easier than just bringing like 3 supports and a DPS, because you don't have that level of sustain, of imprisonment, because imprison is just so unbelievably strong. It slows them down and it pushes them back, Yeah, but for damage at E0, not too good, unfortunately.
Speaking of Misha, take it away. Just give us the second hot take of the video.
Yeah, Misha is better than Jingliu at E6, hands down. And this is also including the fact that Jingliu doesn't have her light cone, which even pushes probably Misha even further beyond. Yeah, he's Super Saiyan 3, legitimately. He's so good. The fact that he has the freeze, just like, we were just talking about the self-sustaining part, right? Is just super, super comfortable. His E1 for extra hits is so good. His E2 for extra Death Shred is also very good. E4 adds extra multiplier to his ult, which is all of his damage pretty much, even though his brooms actually do really good. And I'm kind of like amazed that I'm even talking like this, because I'm supposed to be a dedicated Misha hater. I've always hated Misha, the way he looks, the way he plays, everything. But just like I said in one of my previous videos, I can't deny his strength. He's so unbelievably strong, and also the fact that against single target, he is literally an Argenti and just has so many more like potential, so many more options than you can play in a Jingliu team. He's just so good.
Yeah, and guys, if there's any of the characters that you see here that you haven't seen on my channel, I'm gonna link obviously Wyatt's channel in the description, and as well as some of his videos. One of the ones that I find more interesting, he plays with Misha. He got everything in there. Just go check him out. Link is gonna be in the description below. Next up, we got Kafka. Personally, Kafka being the enabler she is, I don't think her personal damage is like insanely high, but in the teams that she plays, she enables the team to do like extraordinarily high amounts of damage. So I think she warrants a C tier in my opinion. I mean, S tier, my bad.
Since she re-triggers other people's damage, it's kind of interesting. Like, I guess you would consider the dots that you're triggering from other characters, you would consider that her damage, because that wouldn't be re-triggered without her. Also, on top of that, her toughness is also really, really good, because she's blast and AoE, and then she also has the follow-up every single turn. So especially if you have a fast Kafka with her light cone too, or I guess this without her light cone, it's irrelevant. The point is that you're getting a lot of toughness damage, which is also really good for Dot, because Ron May is a really good partner for that, and just having them just skip and take the dots is great. I think S is deserved.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, her enabling the whole Dot archetype, just because of that alone, in my opinion, she deserves the S.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go off script here. We're gonna go with JingYuan first instead of Serval, because we're about to approach our other hot take. So JingYuan, I personally restarted my account because my JingYuan was so bad. Maybe it was skill issue, but I didn't feel like he was that strong. So in my opinion, he deserves a B tier. What do you say?
Oh, I thought we were gonna put him in C. Yeah, no, I think B is.
So you're gonna throw him in the garbage bin.
Yeah, I think that's deserving, just because there's other electric characters that are also your addition that may or may not be stronger.
All right. Speaking of which, Serval. Well, do you wanna keep that up?
Okay, really quick, let's go. Ready? 100 energy cost ult, right? 4 energy every hit per shock to enemy. E6 gives extra damage too. E4 makes it so you can get consistent shocks with pretty much everything. Pure Fiction, super, super good. MOC, pretty good. Haven't tried her in Apocalyptic Shadow, but she does not suffer from any of the things that JingYuan suffers. And she is just really, really, really good.
Yeah, for a 4-star character. And then it may be on the surface, you don't really see it. You only see it when you actually build and test Serval, which Wyatt here has done, because he does things that nobody else wants to do, and he's not the only person that says it. A bunch of people say that Serval is better than JingYuan because you don't have to deal with that slow ass Lightning Lord. It's very annoying, especially if he gets CC'd. You just lose out on all your damage. So yeah, I think I was in the boat that I was gonna put Serval down here, but then we had a conversation about it, and he was like, okay, this is what Serval actually does, and I was like, okay, yeah, it's undeniable. Serval is just great. She's pure fiction. Amazing in there. Yeah, so we're gonna place her at B, and she is better than JingYuan. All right, Blade, my boy Blade. Unfortunately, he also fell from grace, and yeah, he just doesn't have any help. He doesn't have any supports that buff him his HP or anything like that. He only has Bronya, and even that, it's not that great. So
yeah, Ron May is good too, but the thing is that just for now, I guess, yeah, no HP buffer in particular means that you only want to go for Depth Shred, Respen, and damage bonus, which is fine. Also brings down his team options a little bit because he can't use Tingyun, and his ult is really good, so it would be really nice to have good uptime on his ult. Also, Robin is kind of a useless character, even though maybe it's the fact that he has split scaling. I think maybe split scaling characters always just kind of fall off a little bit. And, again, he was one of the first DPS characters, so he did not age too well, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't think they designed Blade with with him being a top tier DPS character. They just designed him for him to be a very comfortable character, kind of like Clara. So in that sense, I think he's better than Clara. Yeah, I think here is fine. I think here is fine.
Is he? I don't know. I think he might. I think he's worse than QQ. The average Q. Yeah, no, I think he is. His damage is so unbelievably bad. Like you can zero cycle, you can hyper carry, and you can get some good clears, but just casually, I have a really hard time on my free to play account clearing with just a pure Blade team.
Okay, well, all right, we'll go with that. We'll go with that. I think he still belongs in the B tier. It's just where in the B tier it's marginal, the difference, I guess. Black Swan, man, this is kind of hard. I don't want to me, she's a double S character because she does so much, but as a DPS, I can't put her up there. I do think as a DPS, she's better than Kafka. But yeah, she's just so strong. In Pure Fiction, there's no other character that's better than her in Pure Fiction. Like not even who could be better? Nobody's better. Not even Herta, no Himeko, no Argenti. Nobody's better than her in Pure Fiction. And then she also does put in some work in MOC as well.
The Pure Fiction, you need the dot buff, but usually they have the dot buff, so the dot buff is pretty damn strong. In MOC, she is disgustingly strong. I mean, so strong. You're hitting like 150k Arcanas, and this is like without Eidolons, and that is with the triple support though. So, but it works. I mean, even though it's a dot team and the damage is backloaded, you can still go with sustainless comps using Ron May, but you need Ron May because the team has a lot of toughness damage, specifically the Black Swan and the Kafka. So it does make it so you don't have to worry about taking too much damage, and then they take probably about 2 to 3 triggers of dot before their turn actually comes up if you can break. So that does make her damage really nice. Her supporting capability is so crazy because you can take advantage of that vulnerability if you ult during the enemy's turn. She's got the Depth Shred. Her E1 is the best supporting E1, I want to say, because it's unconditional as long as you have the type of dot, which is her ult, which does run out sometimes, so maybe that is a little bit of a downside. But for a pure DPS, S is deserving.
Yeah, she's insanely strong. I think as a combo, Kafka and Black Swan are probably as a combo in double S. Maybe, yeah, as a combo, double S, maybe triple S, but individually, I think they're both in S and very comfortably in S.
Yeah, they can 3-cycle brute force any MOC so far, in my experience.
All right, we got Firefly. This is probably going to end up being a hot take as well. But I think E0 S0 Firefly, and this is coming from my own experience. I was able to hit around 700,000 damage on stream when I first pulled her, build her with just trash relics, throw her the free-to-play Lycone on it, and like she just popped off. But the only thing is that obviously she needs to be on her own super break team, specifically catered towards her. And also it was enemies that were also catered towards her. So it may have been a little skewed in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't care about like creativity, ingenuity, or stuff like that, then I guess she's an awesome character. Her floor is high enough that it makes it so somebody can literally just pick up the team, use Ron May, the free Harmony Trailblazer, and the free Gallagher, because his Eidolons don't make... the weakness break efficiency at E6 is crazy, but for the most part, not necessary for the damage that Firefly deals. So it makes it seem like Firefly is such a good character, because her damage is... I've never hit, just like you said, 700k. And for the most part, lots of people can't hit 700k. So she probably is an SS, maybe even SSS for some people. And at E0, S0, with the whole team, she's very, very good. The problem is that she will never be better than almost her base form. Even her E6, I think, isn't too strong. I mean, her E1 and E2 are nice. The skill points does make it so it's a much friendlier team. However, I don't even know if it's necessary, because you just basic with Gallagher the same amount, and pretty much you can always skill with Harmony Trailblazer. And if you want to do real damage, if you want to do Acheron levels of damage, it's just never going to happen. Because no matter how much more investment you want to put into it, no matter how much better you want to make the relics, it's like the smallest of incremental damage increases. And she's a very good character to start, not a very good character to want to, be creative, make interesting teams, hit high numbers. I've never hit 1 million damage with Firefly ever, and that's with E1 Ron May, E2 Sparkle if I want to pair it, E2 Robin if I want to try different teams, because there's quite literally no point of trying those teams when her best team is just a free-to-play, floor, whatever. That's all I got.
Yeah, I completely agree. She's very easy to get into, but very hard to scale up. I think her scaling comes to a point where it just stops, because you can only get so much break effect. After a certain break effect point, it's not going to do that much difference. And due to the nature of super break and break effect, your damage is going to be capped at a certain amount.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the same reason why Gallagher is so good with her. Just such an insane amount of toughness with his ult AoE, and that enhanced basic is a crazy amount of toughness too, that there's almost no reason to even try to go for those bigger numbers with those debuffers, because there's no difference. Gallagher's just as good.
Yep.
Oh, but really quick, another thing that I forgot to mention is the energy uptime of Firefly. Because if you don't use a quid pro quo Gallagher, in my experience, I've found that I've had a very hard time getting his ult up, or her ult up, is Samahi, whatever, it doesn't make a difference. Point is that I always have to skill twice, for the most part, if you're not using quid pro quo, and that's a problem I've had in zero cycling, maybe in casual play, because she's naturally fast. It doesn't matter too much, because her second turn does come up sooner, but those are my 2 cents.
Yeah, this is reasonable. Like, I haven't had that experience myself, but Wyatt plays this game way more than anybody I know. So, I trust what he's saying. When it comes to gameplay, he doesn't do calculations, but, that's kind of like my realm. This is the whole concept of the video. I think I'm rambling at this point. But, let's go. Let's keep going. We have Acheron now. So, a lot of you might expect her to be the triple S character of this tier list. But, unfortunately, at E0, S0, she is just not. I think she's a very comfortable double S character. And the thing is that her team restriction... you need to build her a certain, you need her to crit, you need to invest in her enough to where she's going to be a double S character. She doesn't just come out of the box and is a double S character. You have to get her there. You have to build a team around her, and her team options off the gate right now, she just has Pella, Black Swan, Gwenaifen pretty much, and to me it's just not enough by itself. At E0 S0 it's just not enough.
Yeah, I think her damage, she definitely has the highest ceiling. You're never going to see any higher numbers than you will with Acheron. But I also think that's slightly inflated, because when you get those hits from all 4 slashes, it still counts dead enemies, which obviously every character does. But it makes it look like a lot more, because that final slash is just it doubles, because it goes 1, 2, 3, and then the number pretty much doubles. And the more enemies there are, that's how you're going to hit those insane numbers. And another little, I don't know if it's a misconception or what have you, but her ability to ignore elements during her weakness does not make her a universally, element DPS. She does not perform nearly as good when it's, God forbid, electro resistant, but even just neutral. She really, really likes going against electric enemies. And another quick thing is when it comes to Nihility teammates, if you don't have a Silver Wolf, which is a 5-star, if you don't have Black Swan, which is another 5-star, then you're stuck with obviously Pela. And then for another Nihility, because I personally don't think it's worth to go one Nihility, one buffer at E0, unless you're going maybe Bronya with like a 134, 135, that's an option. But for the most part, a Sparkle I don't think is good because it doesn't actually give her more turns. Even if you have a 160 Sparkle, you're just giving her pseudo 160 speed, which is not as much as the amount of damage you could do with an extra debuffer like Gwenaifen, stacking those debuffs. Maybe Welt, but that doesn't increase the damage too much. But yeah, I rambled a long time right there. But her damage, at the end of the day, very high ceiling. Slightly low floor, I want to say, because you do need her. She's a crit DPS, obviously. But I think she belongs at the top of SS. I think she's better than Imbibitor, definitely better than Firefly, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think I completely agree. I don't have much else to add to that. All right, and I think this is going to be one of the hottest take. I think this is going to be the hottest take of the entire tier list. Personally, I think Boothill is the triple S character of this tier list. The reason for this is that my boy Boothill at E0 S0, he doesn't even need a light cone. You just throw some break effect and some speed. That's all he needs. He's gonna do 400, 500k damage. You can zero cycle him at E0 S0 with no light cone or a 3-star light cone. There's not even a 4-star break effect light cone in the game, and he is this strong. Like, I don't understand how people are just like completely oblivious to Boothill. It just doesn't make sense to me. What do you think?
Well, there's a couple of things that makes Boothill so unbelievably strong, and I'll list through them really quick, all right? He implants a physical, okay? He's got an insane amount of toughness when you stack it up, and sometimes people might say, if there's no Trotter, it's going to be harder to stack up his stacks of the pocket trick shot, where sometimes, if you go against only 2 elites, you may run into that problem, but there's also ways of counteracting that. Like, you can run a JingYuan, you can get your ult up faster, and you can actually go ahead and get 2 stacks of pocket trick shots, sometimes even 3 in one turn, depending on how many times you can ult or break a character in the middle, or even a duo DPS. You can break the character in the standoff and get it, but his ability to be played as a tank, you can play him with HP, you can play him with defense. He has the crit traces for that, that hybrid playstyle, but it's not even necessary because this does such an insane amount of physical break damage. Same reason why Luka is so high. He is just so universally strong, and even in bosses like the Choir, those are 3 bosses, he's still destroying it, just annihilating it. And I don't know really how many other characters are going to ever be as strong as a physical break damage dealer who not only gets 10 energy every time the pocket trick shot comes up, making it so you can get like 2-turn ults sometimes with this character. Physical break, so good for a low investment account, just so good. You can play him with super break, you can play him without super break. It's irrelevant. Unlike Firefly, you're not tied into one team. You can play, there's probably 12, maybe even 14 different team comps on my channel about different Boothill comps, and they're all fun and they all work just so good.
Yeah. I recommend, if you don't understand the power of homie Boothill, I recommend going and checking out Wyatt's channel. He has a lot. Every video you will ever need to prove to you that Boothill is the man is on his channel. So link is going to be in the description. All right, next up we got Argenti, and Argenti is probably one of the most underrated characters in the game. I think his damage is extremely high. He has the ability to nuke an insane amount of toughness damage as well. I have him E0 S0 with the Battle Pass Light Cone, and he's putting up 700k damage. I've 2-cycled MOC with very low investment on my Argenti. I personally think he is an S tier character.
Yeah, if I go back to the past and think about it, I haven't used Argenti too much in recent time. I think one of like my first couple videos with Argenti was a auto 0 cycle, and that was using JingYuan, Pela, and Bronya, right? So that was like the standard hyper carry, super hyper carry comp back in the day when we didn't have any of the limited harmony characters. And at E0 S0, he was able to 0 cycle back then with that team. Nowadays, he's still really good. The fact that he's a Erudition and has Hunt potential with his bounces just makes him very, very universal. And not to mention, he is a literal, like, I think he stands at like the pinnacle of all characters in pure fiction.
Yeah.
Just so good. And his damage is so strong that I don't know, I haven't tried it, but Argenti Blade is probably so fun because he's getting so many hits, and that means just crazy amount of follow-ups. So I think he belongs that high, definitely.
Yeah, Argenti's definitely one of the most slept on characters in the game. I've been saying it since I got him. Like, when I got him, I didn't even want him. I did 2 multis because I wanted something else on that banner. I didn't even remember. But I got him, I was like, oh man, I don't even want to build him. But I'm so glad that I did. This dude is insanely strong.
Also, not to mention, he's physical. So even though you don't build him without break effect, he still gets some good bleed numbers too. Just a little cherry on top.
Okay, following up, we have Topaz and Nambi as a damage dealer. I don't think Topaz does too much as a damage dealer herself. But even then, when her damage is being like low, I think she's still higher, maybe around the same as Yanquing, maybe. She's definitely more than well at E0. I think I'm gonna place her right here.
Yeah, no, I think you should go ahead and toss her 1 tier higher, put her next to Blade personally, because her damage is, she has very high frequency of attack. So even though her numbers aren't very high,
right, yeah, you're right.
The only thing that does really, really suck, and I still to this day will never understand, she's the only follow-up character that they locked the energy of Nambi or of the follow-up behind Eidolons. You need E2 to get 5 energy every time Nambi hits. What the hell is that?
Yeah,
5 energy.
That's
2
crazy.
per Nambi. They should have, even if they made it 2.5 energy and just gave it to us in the base kit, I'd be fine with that, or even 3. Xueyi only gets 2 per tick, so she gets 6 per follow-up. And it's just a massive, her energy cost is way too high for her not to gain energy from the follow-ups. That's like a massive problem for me.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I forgot that Nambi doesn't gain energy from Nambi hits, and that was like mind-blowing to me. Next up, we got Seele. You know, she's definitely fallen off too, but she's still very usable. The thing with Seele is that you need a lot of investment in her, like missing crits, her ult not killing. All those things just makes it feel so bad. It's kind of like Ratio in that sense that if you don't crit or you don't kill the little mob because you missed a crit, you just lose a lot of DPS there. But I think she deserves to be an A tier. I just don't know exactly where. Where would you put it?
You know, honestly, I think right there actually makes sense. A little bit behind Jingliu, but still better than the characters that we've got in B, because she has such an insane amount of potential as long as you can keep on triggering Resurgence, you know? But the problem is that at some point, the stronger enemies get, if you're not keeping along with either Eidolons or somehow increasing your relics enough to make a difference, then you're not going to be able to be hitting that threshold of hitting Resurgence, because if you're able to hit the threshold every single time, I think her DPS is just crazy. Then it's probably crazier than the majority of DPSs, you know, just because she has the ability to get the double turns. But if you can't hit the double turns, then you're not getting anything out of it. It really falls off. Although in pure fiction, she's super fun, just one ticking everybody and just going across the line. But
yeah,
I think right there.
Yeah, I don't have Seele in my current account. I had her on my very first account, but like I said, JingYuan made me toss that account in the garbage. So, all right, next up we got Herta. In pure fiction, Herta is the one of the ultimate gods of pure fiction. Insanely powerful. If this was just a pure fiction tier list, she'd be triple S. But unfortunately, MOC Apocalyptic Shadow, she just falls off tremendously. So I think throwing her in B tier somewhere is probably fair because it's in the middle, pretty much in the middle. Because she's bad in 2 modes, really strong in 1 mode. So I think here is probably fine.
I mean, she's a goddess. Pure fiction goddess, MOC trash can, Apocalyptic Shadow, wet rag. She's useless in Apocalyptic Shadow. So, although I don't know, she's so unbelievably strong in pure fiction that I think you should actually take her up a tier, just because I think the power.
But also Serval. So,
comparing her to Serval in pure fiction,
she's better in pure fiction than Serval, but Serval is good in all 3 modes. Well, actually, in MOC and pure fiction, Serval is clearly good.
Yeah. Okay, so, you know what? I can see that. I'll go with you on this one.
Yeah.
We can leave her in B or whatever tier that is.
All right. We have Win Danny Boy. Win Danny Boy, not that great. I'm gonna put him here at the top of D, because you know, even though Wyatt has some content with Danny Boy in his channel, which I recommend go check it out. Very entertaining. I just believe he's a D tier character.
Yeah, I mean, I played with Dan Heng like 8 months ago or something, and that was also the last time I played with Dan Heng. So
yeah,
super fun back in the day. At this point, not even worth a second look.
Yeah. Same thing with Sampo. I'm not going to waste too much time. We're not going to waste too much time on Sampo. Back in the day, back in the OG days, there was some little bit of tech that you can use with him and, to help you beat some stuff. But now he's just fallen off completely ever since Black Swan came out. Nobody uses him. So there's that.
There are like some interesting synergies with Sampo and Black Swan that I think exist, but the thing is that I don't even know because my Sampo is level 20, so yeah, I don't know how to add on to him.
All right, next up we got Sushang. I don't have too much experience with Sushang. I see her kind of like a pseudo, like a broke man's Boothill, but take the broke man's Boothill and then like make him worse, and I think that's where Sushang lies. So I think Sushang probably here, somewhere around here, top of C. Because she's physical and you can run her as break, and then those bleed dots are gonna pop off. But that's about it.
A physical break in itself is just so strong that she needs a little bit of respect. But for the most part, she kind of has like the similar issues as Xueyi, where like you want to build her a hybrid because half of her kit is like based off of her like sword dance triggers or whatever it is. It is nice that she has a lot of speed and stuff. But splitting between break effect and crit is always a little bit rough for me. And when there's characters like Boothill where you can completely forego it, it really puts into perspective like what the difference is between that character and Boothill.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, I think she has the funniest ult animation though. But that's about it. That's all I can give her. We got Jade. I haven't played Jade too much. I did pull her Lycone just now, like today. So I will be diving a little bit more into Jade. But yeah, Wyatt, you've used Jade a lot. What do you think?
I think she is slept on in non-pure fiction modes because clearly pure fiction A+. Okay, now we can forget talking about pure fiction. In MOC and Apocalyptic Shadow, her ability to make like characters like Pela a debt collector, Pela is just so unbelievably good because she's a debuffer. She has an AoE ult. She's got a 2-turn ult. So good. You can pair her with a lot of other MOC characters. Although at E0, obviously, you do need some AoE focused. So Blade has a little bit of synergy there. I haven't found the results to be too good myself. Even Xueyi, I was really looking forward to Xueyi and Jade. Unfortunately, not as good as I would have liked. Pairing her with a break is actually really nice, just because you don't have to worry about too many team buffs, and you can almost kind of buff her individually. I mean, I've seen a lot of other people doing zero cycles at low cost in particular with the MOC for Jade, and even though the choir is like, really advantaged when you go against it with a Euro Edition because you're hitting 3 and you're getting like 300 value, essentially 300% value, she's got some really, really, really good output in every mode, and her speed buff is also really, really nice. So she's great. I think she belongs in S.
You think she belongs before or after Argenti?
I think after Argenti. Oh, actually, wait, that's kind of rough because they're both so good in pure fiction, and hypercarry Argenti versus duo DPS Jade.
It's rough. I think they're even.
Yeah, I might have to flip.
I personally think they're even. Wait, no. Wait, E0 S0. I think Argenti's better because I had to. Yeah, E0 S0. I personally think Argenti's better than Jade.
What's the Lycone you're using, or you would be using?
So Argenti using the Battle Pass Lycone, and at S2, and then Jade was using Genius Repose, I think, at S5.
Unfortunately, I don't have experience with Jade without her Lycone, and I only have experience with Argenti without his Lycone. And if they're pretty similar, then I do think Argenti's probably edges a little bit over her, even though she outperforms lots of circumstances. But
yeah, I think as an overall character, Jade's better than Argenti, but as a DPS character, Argenti's better.
Especially for damage too, because I guess this tier list wouldn't really count the extra speed that she gives to her allies, and the fact that she's like as skill point positive as she is.
Yeah. All right, so now we're going to get into a little bit of a nuance because these 4 characters at the bottom are actually support characters that can be used to deal damage. So I personally don't like Robin. If you're a fan of the channel, you know that I despise this character. But Wyatt is a very, very big fan of Robin. So
I think personally, Robin is one of the best Harmony characters. But since we're talking about purely DPS in this video, I want to say that she is under Seele. I think she's in the A tier. I think Hypercarry Robin is an unbelievably strong team, although it is dependent on the speeds of your support characters, because clearly the more attacks you do during Concerto, that's the more damage you're going to be doing. But it works very nicely buffing Robin with JingYuan, especially because that extra energy makes it so you can always get back into Concerto immediately, and sometimes even without JingYuan, you get enough attacks that it makes it so you can actually build up your energy cost really, really nicely. And the fact that a Harmony character just has that option to be played as a hyper carry. Might not affect like the ranking in this tier list, but if we're talking just pure DPS, I think that's where she belongs personally.
Okay. I mean, I'm not gonna argue too much with it. I hate this character, but you know, I'll trust your word on it.
Also consistent, 100% crit rate. So you never have to worry about RNG for the most part. It's really just the way you build the team and how you speed tune.
All right. Harmony MC. You haven't gotten your E6, right?
I haven't even got E4.
Bro, you're like hard against that grind, okay? You're hard against it.
I never farm clock credits in my life unless somebody wants to pay me at least $150 for 5 levels. God, I hate them. God. Okay, sorry. Continue.
All right, so we have Harmony MC. He's obviously a super break enabler, and because he's a super break enabler, without Harmony MC, we don't have Firefly, we don't have Gallagher. You know, it's just, it is what it is. So I think that he also belongs in the A tier, because if you have him as E6, his 7 ticks of damage deal an insane amount of toughness. This is, we're talking 150,000, 150,000, 160, 150,000 damage with his skill. He's also, if you run him with, however I run him, this is completely off tangent, but I run him with Ruan Maze Lycon, right? And then he gets this ultimate so often that skill points are never an issue on any super break team you run. So I think he's very, very strong as a DPS as well.
Yeah, I mean, he enables an entirely different playstyle, and his numbers are, a Harmony character doing like 100,000 damage is really, really good. I mean, how it compares to other characters, I probably wouldn't put him that high, just because his personal damage is probably more like a...
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I'm overhyping it.
Yeah, no, his personal damage is probably somewhere in, what's the second to last tier? Yeah, something under Welt, something. Yeah, maybe above Welt. Above Welt, above Yanquing, but before Sushang, I think.
So like right here, you would put him right here?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, just for like personal damage. Obviously, he enables an entirely different playstyle, so his value is kind of not really, you know.
Yeah, I think I'm overvaluing him. When I put him in A, I think I overvalue him because he's a support. He's not supposed to be doing 150,000 damage, you know.
Yeah. For his role, it's insane.
Yeah, the same thing happens, or the same thing applies to Gallagher. But Gallagher is like, with the super break archetype, he like, I don't see anywhere that you don't put him like, I don't know, somewhere around A or B. Like, I mean, I would put him in A. Fuck it, I would put him in A.
If we were to put into perspective the amount of damage he's dealing to the normal sustain, and even a damage dealing sustain like Aventurine, then honestly his damage might even go to like S or SS, just because of how crazy his damage is in a super break team. I mean, that's like 250k AoE swipes, and even his punch will hit for like 125, 150k. Yeah. And that was in the current MOC that dropped like a couple days ago, so that's without the Trotter too. So it's some insane damage. Now, if we're talking like in perspective or compared to these current characters that we've got on the list, then, you know, honestly, in a super break team, that actually might fit. That actually might fit. Honestly,
he might. That's what I'm saying. Like, he goes somewhere here, and I don't think, I don't think any team would rather have Serval or any of these characters, for that matter, rather like other than him. Like, I don't see it. I'm sorry.
And he's infinitely skill point positive, and I think he heals better than Luocha personally too.
And so he's free.
And he's free.
That's crazy.
And Eidolons are crazy. E6 is busted.
Yeah, he's insane. And you know, this tier, like the 4 stars, as I've said before, 4 stars are E6. So we're counting on his E6, and his weakness break efficiency increase is insane. Yeah, he just does a lot. He's just too good. I think Starrel like messed up big time making this guy a 4-star. I think he should have been a 5-star. I don't know. That just my take.
Could have been. I wonder if they decided to make him into a 4-star to make Lingsha into a 5-star. Because
I mean, Lingsha's gonna sell more for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how Lingsha is gonna compare. It's almost like Zhao, because Zhao, they compared Zhao to Pela, and how if he's only a little bit better than Pela, that must mean that he sucks. Oh, it's like, okay, well, what if Pela is the best debuffer in the game? That must mean that he is now the best debuffer in the game, which is like the most valuable character to almost pull, because debuffs are more valuable than buffs in lots of circumstances. But same thing, just like with Gallagher, I do wonder if Lingsha comes out, if she's going to be strong enough to make people, kind of value her power if she's not that much stronger than Gallagher, who's already so strong.
Yeah, I think she is going to be stronger than Gallagher, but you know, that's a conversation for another video, which stay tuned, it's coming.
I'm just excited for the bunny.
Yeah, that mechanic sounds good. That mechanic sounds fun. All right, and last but not least, we have Aventurine, DPS Aventurine. I've seen him do some crazy things. You know, I've seen Aventurine, DPS Aventurine do some crazy things, but not everybody's Aventurine is going to be doing some crazy things. So I think he is good right here as a DPS character. As a sustain, top tier. DPS character, not so much.
Are we talking about his damage output if you were to hyper buff him?
Yeah, like yeah. I don't think he's that strong.
I mean, obviously, he's a defense scaling character, obviously, so you're gonna have to only buff with damage percent and def shred and stuff like that. He can hit some good numbers if you want to buff him through the roof, but I think just like that, if you want to buff any other character, they're gonna do more damage. So
okay, I think I'm pretty happy with this. What do you think? What do you think about this list? I think it's pretty accurate.
Yeah, I mean, going down, maybe there's a couple of tweaks that I could think about in the future, but at this point, I think we did a damn good job.
Yeah, I think so as well. So that's going to be the end of the tier list. And because you stuck with us till the end, we're going to play a prank on those people that skip to the end of the video to check the tier list. And they just, they just skimp us out on this watch time. So what we're going to do is we're going to put, what do you think? What do you think we should prank these people on? We should put Jade up here in double S somewhere, right?
Yeah, drop Firefly to D because that might actually be.
No, that's too obvious. That's too obvious. Yo, the shade. I'm putting an A. I'll drop her to A. I'll put Dr. Ratio, free to play character, before her. I already know Boothill in Triple S, unironically, is going to be a hot topic here.
Yeah, people are gonna think that's the fake one.
Yeah, I think not too many changes need to be made to throw him for a loop. So all we got to do now is just speak like we just did this. So, all right. So yeah, I think because of that, Jade deserves a double S ranking. So what do you think?
I think that's an absolutely fair spot.
Okay. Yeah, she's definitely better than Firefly. Definitely better than Black Swan and Kafka combined, as we said in our, when we spoke about them. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Check out Wyatt's channel. Link will be in the description, as well as some of his videos. And until next time, guys. See ya.